And, you know, I think the people around this table, we haven't always gotten along, we haven't always, done the right thing maybe institutionally, but we can't look around this table and not admire and respect deeply the work that has been done. And New York City is still ground zero for disaster spiritual care and mental health. There isn't a disaster happens in this country that there isn't a leader around this table who isn't called upon or looked toward. And we've all worked hard in this community, and we've worked hard around the country, and what we've done here still isn't happening other places the way it has happened here. For better or for worse, we're not perfect, but we're still leaders in the field. And I suppose that's a good thing at one level, and it's a disturbing thing at another level. And I think we have to recognize that we've had a long journey together. We've done great ministry together. We've cared for each other. We've cared for our clients and our colleagues. But there are still so many people who served as chaplains or who simply survived the day who are very much broken by the experience. And we still have an unknown path ahead of us, I think. And when we look to New Orleans and Joplin and school shootings and all the terrible things that take place around the country, we're still carving new ground and trying to figure out how we not only focus on the short-term responsibilities that we have, because that is in many cases what disaster chaplaincy is, but the long-term responsibilities we have when care for the caregiver isn't done well.
Back in the 70s, I'll say somewhere between 74 and 77, my father was driving me to the train, and I asked him about a dream I'd had the night before. And in the dream, I saw it happen. And he couldn't answer for me that was where it was. I just sat on it. And then after it happened, I said, that was the message that God was sending to me at that time, but I had no dates. And then fast forward now, I was working in Mount Vernon in a health center. In fact, I walked in, my patient is sitting there, and the staff says, your son called, he says he's okay, he's not at World Trade, he's at 48th Street, and he's gotten his wife and he's ran to his in-laws house, and he's safe. Okay, so, because he was working for, what was it? I don't remember, it was American Express or Morgan Stanley, but in any case, he says, but start praying because some of our staff is down there. Fast forward, was working for the Hotel Trades Council until very recently. And when I was in the Brooklyn office, I had a patient. I can't remember his full name, but he was the maitre d' or one of the managers at the, was it Millennium Hotel in the restaurant. 9/11 was his second encounter. And now he had survived the first one, gotten people out. That one, he was there and witnessed it coming at him and seeing some of his customers and fellow workers perish, and having carried, well not carried, but dragged out folks who had held on to his coat. He used to tell me the story that he was covered in the asbestos and everything's in his eyes and everything. His lungs are ruined at this point, and he's a part of that Mount Sinai project. But I mention him because we talk about the responders, but there was also the people who worked in the community who were directly related to them. They keep getting forgotten in terms of the story, okay? And I haven't seen him in a couple of years because I moved on to someplace else. But each time I was saying, how are you doing? And he would tell me. And in terms of healing, his healing, he couldn't work anymore, but he volunteered in the hospital as a male patient syndrome, because that's what he did. And the next that was, after seeing it that first day, I ended up working at Rikers Island for a couple of months. But those first weeks, when I would leave the building, and I could see the slope. And we're just standing on the hill, at the entrance, waiting for the bus, and I could see it rising. And I'd get on the train and come down here. And I would stand in the crowd on Maiden and Lane and Broadway, and I could see the cross. And all we all did was stood there and pray. We didn't pray silently. And so whenever I pass on Church Street now, did up until recently, and see the cross, because to me it was the cross, and it was a message telling us we would have that peace again. I just stay there and stand there and say my prayer. The other thing is that Linda and I have been down here for some other, I don't know what we came down here for, but we would go to St. Paul's Chapel. I remember the first time we went in together, and we just looked, we didn't say anything to each other, but I just remember the tears began to fall, both of us. And so it became very real, and even though we didn't know anybody personally other than this patient I had, it became our experience too. So I just wanted to share it.
Remember, I did the 2 different buying offices, and I was always right there, and Father Judd was there for us. I was in 116, and then I was in the Monkey Wardrobe. So from maybe 1970 through 1980, see him just going to and from work and dropping in to St. Francis. So that was very real. Plus, I had an office in number 1, and normally on Tuesdays I would have been there, even though we had closed the company. But instead, the Marty who just left, I had to go see him uptown, so we had canceled the meeting. So it was very real.
I just wanted to thank you because one of the realities is with the anniversary coming around, there's so many different communities of remembrance. I mean, there's those that lost, whose loved ones died in the World Trade Center, and there's those that worked there, and there's those that responded afterwards, and there's those that were part of other.
I was there from day one. I volunteered myself through the healthcare chaplains, and I was with Red Cross. But some people, some of them I see, but some of them I don't see. And also, I was, at the same time, I was in the community as a volunteer counselor. The elderly who was at home, their pain, they are still maybe at homes and things. I don't know as a community-wise whether we explore. Because they were recalling First World War, Second World War, and going through so much. And these things haunts me off and on. Even though I go down to the library or go down someplace, talk to the people and things like that as much I can, because these things gave me nightmares at times,
On 9/11, I was teaching high school, and we get the thing, hey, we run outside to see the second plane hit. With the tallest part of Yonkers, clear view all the way down. This year, 35 of those kids have gotten together. We're going to meet on the 14th to sit down and go through this again. But we kicked the same dirt, a whole bunch of us, we did. How we took care of ourselves, how we're still taking care of ourselves or trying to take care of ourselves. How every time I see one of these kids, it comes back with their babies, and all they want to do is, I don't want to talk about it, just hold me for a while. Those don't go away. And the saddest part of this is too many kids have forgotten and don't want to know. If we don't continue to deliver this message, history repeats itself. We're going to be caught again. And I'm not talking about another explosion, although it's coming. I'm talking about what it's going to do to us inside as people. Have we forgotten all the anger we had? Have we turned it into something great? And we have. We've turned it into prayer, swords into plowshares, and we're moving forward. But I've got these 35 kids coming back, and it's going to rip a hole in me all over again. Stephan, you said it. Julie, we talked about this How do we take care of ourselves? So we were there. It's going to come back all over again. And for me, it's going to be another healing process. And it's going to be that when we go back on 9/11 again, it's going to start all over. So keep it here, keep it in your heart, and keep it in your prayers. Because without God, we don't have it.